We are slaying monsters.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
When did this become a political podcast?
I didn't want to do a political podcast. I don't know politics. I don't want to do any of this shit, man.
I don't think it's a political podcast. I think, though, when you have high-ranking government officials saying the things they're saying, like, we got to talk about it a little bit, I think. It's not their political party. It's the words that are coming out of their mouth.
And the aliens that are transporting our FEMA directors.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That's true.
I know.
And we are not a political podcast. We are slaying monsters.
That's right.
And we got Maddie J.
Hey.
We got Katie.
Hi.
And I'm EJ, and we're going to get into what happened in April.
What did happen in April? Well,
so much.
You know what? Unfortunately, in April, there was a lot of political folks who got in front of a lot of mics, and also, not to besmirch the medium that we are delivering this to you on, but they got on a lot of podcasts and were spouting some hard truths about the world.
Yeah, I don't know if our listeners know this, but you can say anything on a podcast.
You can. We've been doing it for a couple of years.
Claim
literally anything, and no one will fact check you.
No one will stop you, really.
Maybe they will later, but not in real time. You just get right on there.
Yep.
I don't know. Our listeners have been good about correcting things sometimes.
I hope they continue too.
Either that, or they've just been completely letting us go, and we've been off base the whole time. I don't know.
They're going tee-hee-hee. They're so wrong. Tee-hee-hee.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine too.
We're having a heck of a good time being wrong, if that's true.
Yes,
that's right.
It's a joy.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about the Fortean news of April, and to start this off, guys, when I sent you this first news item, there were 9 scientists connected with this. Now there are 11. And I think there actually might be 12 at the point that we are recording this now. Mm-hmm. But this is a follow-up, sort of, to our coverage of General Neil McCasland, who disappeared at the end of February. McCasland worked at the Air Force Research Lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is, of course, on the fringes of conspiracy theories, Fortean, all of that stuff. But now, journalists, including journalists at the very questionable Daily Mail, but also at Newsweek, have started to link other disappearances and deaths to this big mystery. And so our tally, at least at the time of our recording, is 11 different scientists who were working across various disciplines with or adjacent to the U.S. government are now either missing or dead.
Yeah, most of them, it seems like, are either attached to the Jet Propulsion Lab.
Yes.
And then the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And then also Los Alamos. This is kind of wild.
Yeah. Admittedly very strange.
Yeah. So first, well, not first chronologically, but in the timeline of how these were released, we had General Neil McCasland, who disappeared. We talked about that last month. Then we had Monica Reza, who we also talked about last month. She worked with NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab and disappeared while hiking in June of 2025. And now the journalists have linked all of this back to the death of David Michael Hicks, also of the Jet Propulsion Lab, who died in July of 2023. His research involved deflecting incoming comets and asteroids from Earth, kind of like Armageddon style, but probably with less Aerosmith.
Let's hope so.
That's a shame.
And
then different reactions.
Sorry, yeah. I don't like Aerosmith. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't. He's so whiny.
Okay.
Anyway,
Steven Tyler's
that's okay.
Yeah, he's got kind of that whiny, nasally voice.
He does.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Some people like it. It's okay. All right, continue. Sorry.
2 of the scientists were murdered. That was Carl Grillmar of Caltech. He was shot on his porch in February of this year. And then physicist Nuno Luriero was shot in his home last December. And the most recent addition to this that makes number 11 is Amy Eskeridge, at least in terms of reporting. So she founded something called the Institute for Exotic Science, which was apparently working on anti-gravity, although it's hard to really get any information on her because her website is now defunct. She didn't work directly with the government, but her research did require funding from NASA, although I'm not sure she ever actually received any funding from NASA. I think she just applied to receive funding from NASA. And she died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound all the way back in 2022. So, and this is just a small cross-section of these people. A bunch of other people are missing. It's a lot of missing or dead scientists working on high-profile programs for U.S. government or for its contractors.
Yeah, I think for me too, when I was actually looking at the dates, obviously Hicks and Eskridge are more outliers, like they were 2022 and 2023. But everyone else is like 2025 and 2026, like almost within the last year or like year and a half. And to me, that is like quite interesting. It's the fact that the timeline is so compact that I find that part of it suspicious. And like I have other things where I wrote down some notes about reasons that perhaps it's not suspicious, but like the 2 things I found most suspicious were timelines, compact timelines of all of these people that worked at like the Jet Propulsion Lab or like all these places that are interconnected. And the second thing was circumstances. Something like 4 of these people, they left with nothing and were not heard from again and went missing, or they died. They were shot. And I'm like, I know a lot of people get shot in this country, but usually not random scientists. Like, those people are not usually random scientists.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. And I think what really intrigues me with the clustering of timeline is the missing aspect. Like, I get it if there's just something weird to me about people going missing. Like,
I hate to say it, but I'm less intrigued by the people who were shot just because, unfortunately, America is a very violent country.
Yeah.
And I think that their deaths probably say more about America's gun laws than they do about any conspiracy or anything like that. Yeah. But the missing, and people go missing in the country a lot. I know that, but it's troubling. Yeah. I really I was prepared to come into this and be like, there's nothing to see here, all of that. And I still, there's a part of me that still kind of wants to hold to that because, McCaslin, he was older. He had been retired for something like 10 years. I don't know how relevant his knowledge is for, him to be picked up and captured or something like that. The one guy was a custodian. I don't know how relevant that is, but sometimes also a custodian might actually have some really serious, useful information about something. And they're the perfect person because they're not going to suspect if that guy goes missing.
Yeah. Another coincidence, Chavez and Cassius,
yes,
the scientist and the administrative assistant,
yeah,
they live near each other. They both went missing in exactly the same way, which is like they left all their stuff and they went away. Mm-hmm. And I think they are 2 of the most closely connected, and that I think she was an administrative assistant in the research facility he worked in. The one thing I thought about with them was were they having an affair? And they just decided to like leave and pretend they weren't. I'm thinking about this because of a story about the missing kayaker. It's called The Missing Kayaker. It came out in the Atlantic last summer, I think. And basically, I don't want to give away too much, but this guy fakes his own death. And it turns out he, in fact, did not die.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say. Because it's crazy, crazy story.
It's an interesting story. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, people will go to crazy lengths to not just like go. I don't know if either of these people were married. Maybe they were. But people will go to crazy lengths sometimes to not just like go and be like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
and they just want to like take a more cowardly but extreme way out. I don't know. But like, that was my only thought there, where I was like, okay, these two people it seemed really knew each other. They disappeared around the same time within a month of each other. So perhaps they were in cahoots somehow. But like, if you take that out of it, it's crazy that two people who knew each other that were like connected disappeared in the exact same way within a month of each other. And nobody was like, what's going on there?
I think it's so strange, and they left their stuff behind.
Yeah.
So
They did.
it just sounds like an abduction to me. Like not an alien abduction, but a human abduction.
And I believe, I think it was Chavez also took a gun, which was exactly
no, that was
like...
McClass. Oh, did he?
McCaslin. So McCaslin took a gun.
McCaslin took a gun.
And I believe that Chavez also took a gun. Let me confirm if that's right.
Because like if he did too, like to me that's also weird, because to me that says that like, I don't know, like this is again where I go into conspiracy theory easily in these circumstances. But to me that says that like they were perhaps going to meet someone and they were taking something in self-defense or something like that. Like,
Yes. Chavez took his .38 caliber revolver.
But left his stuff behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Well, it's from the Sentinel briefing, but
I'm definitely more down the conspiracy trail than you are, Matt. But like, I did, like when I was reading the article and they had mapped out all the people, I was like, oh, I don't know if these people seem that connected. But then when I was like reading each of their circumstances, I was just like, this seems like too many people from like such a specific genre of people. Like, it's not like there aren't a lot of people that work at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory or something like that. But it's just like the way that like they're all kind of doing like similar missile-based, space-based technology, and like the time cluster and like all of that. I'm just like, this is weird. It's really weird. What do you think, EJ?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Katie. I think it's very strange. I think, and if this is truly a conspiracy and they are being disappeared, then we're honestly probably never going to know what happened to them, because if that's the case, these guys are good.
And I don't know, we just had reports of this supposed Havana syndrome weapon, the quote unquote discombobulator that Trump talked about. We are now in a war that, I don't know if any of those things factor into that, but that's been floating around the conspiracy theorists for a while as well, surrounding all these disappearances, that there might be some connection between these advanced weaponry programs and these missing people, whether that is them being recruited back in, or whether that is some foreign actor trying to get additional information about the U.S.'s military capabilities. Who knows?
The other thought I did have, because part of the thing that's sort of, at least right now, most recently, legitimizing it as like more than just a coincidence, or something that at least might be worth looking into, is the fact that the government is now looking into it. Like Trump said that they are. I found that interesting because given what all of those folks do, I actually think the government is looking into it because they are thinking like, uh-oh, our missiles, our secret military technology. And to me, it just made me think yet again about how the conspiracy theorists are sort of taking this to like a UFO alien place, like what's happening to the space scientists. But it's like, and like popular culture, I think, is taking it more in that direction. But the government's looking at it, and I'm like, I think they're looking at it because they're like, oh, wait. These people knew about some of our advanced technologies. Let's just like make sure that this is nothing untoward. Very similarly to how it was like during the Cold War or whatever with all the UFO sightings. They didn't actually think there were UFOs. They were like, oh, wait, is there military technology out there that we don't know about? Or that like something is happening where they're finding out shit about our stuff. And like, so part of me is curious if that's why the government is looking into it, because they're just like, okay, these people were top secret scientists in our missile shit. So
yeah, and all of a sudden,
let's make sure
a lot of them are missing, and we don't know why. And you kind of realize just how fragile that all of that secret data is on the back end after like you retire or you go home from work, and you just can walk out of your house and get picked up. Yeah, that's a big loophole. That's a big leaky hole in the government.
Yeah, potentially.
Human beings.
Yeah.
All we can do is speculate, really.
Right.
Forever.
We don't have any further information.
Yeah.
I will say there are hundreds of thousands of people who maintain high security clearances or high security clearances of some kind. So you would expect some of them would disappear from time to time. But yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. Like the more that you look at this, the more you're like, wow, a lot of it happened within the last 12 months. And that's a little freaky.
Speculating forever, the new name of this podcast.
I know.
The problem is the government stuff, though, right? Like when it actually comes into the government, not like the aliens, demonic ghost shit, then all of a sudden we all are like, oh, maybe there's a conspiracy here.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. You know.
In fact, is there any more we want to say about this, or do you want to?
I'm good.
Because I feel like now it would be appropriate for us to jump to even deeper conspiracy within the government. Because, guys, we got news from Vice President JD Vance, and he has his own theory that he's been promoting, and that is that aliens are demons, and they are here as minions of the devil.
Wow.
And now,
Excellent.
This came off the podcast called The Benny Show, which I've never heard about, and I am promptly going to forget about. But JD Vance rambled this quote: I think that celestial beings who fly around, who do weird things to people, I think that the desire to ascribe everything celestial, everything that's otherworldly, to describe it as aliens, I mean, every great world religion, including Christianity, the one that I believe in, has understood that there are weird things out there. This makes JD Vance join a wave of mostly conservative politicians weighing in on aliens, including Senator Marco Rubio and Representatives Eric Burlison and Tim Burchett. Burchett himself recently claimed that the things he knows about aliens would keep people up at night and would make the entire country fall apart. He, of course, did not reveal any of those things to any of us.
Couldn't handle it, Matt.
Yeah.
Couldn't handle the truth.
Yeah. So JD Vance believes that aliens are actually demons, and that allows him to kind of lump them back into his Christian dogma.
This is the thing, is like, I think statistically there are aliens, there's other life, intelligent or otherwise, outside of Earth. However, I don't think that they've come here. It's come here, whatever. But do you know what I believe in even less than that?
What, Katie?
Is demons.
Oh.
Whatever JD Vance thinks is happening, it's definitely not demons.
It's
definitely not.
It's a huge leap in logic. Like there are hundreds of things that there would be before there were demons. Like, and this is our vice president, everybody.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That I think that Christians like JD Vance turn to this. I have heard some of them call angels aliens too, or vice versa. Like try to lump aliens into angels instead. And I think that they turn to that because it's a way of reconciling their beliefs with the extraterrestrial narrative. Because if you believe in God and you believe that God created the universe and created man in God's own image, then what are aliens? Because aliens are not in God's image, right? And man is supposed to be the center of the universe and all of those things. So you have to recontextualize aliens as something, and they're doing it within their existing faith framework. Because that way it doesn't undermine Christianity or whatever religion you subscribe to.
What if there's like a lost book of the Bible or just a lot of detail left out in Genesis? Because, you do go through those 7 days like pretty quickly at the beginning of Genesis. And aliens are God's first takes at human beings. First drafts. Because technically they're saying that God created the entire universe. So, whatever aliens that are out there, God created those. They just aren't humans and they're not in God's image. So maybe they're not even first drafts. We just don't know about the fact that he did create other shit out there. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to fit aliens into their little narratives. I don't believe in any of that. The universe created out of fission and an entire, you can study it. It was billions of years ago for any of our listeners who aren't aware. Anyway.
Thank you, Katie. Yes. I think that like any artist goes through phases in their career. And if God is a painter and an artist, he had a very
like his
literal,
cubist phase.
Yeah, like I think aliens would be his experimental phase or his
the blue
impressionist
period.
phase. Yeah, his green,
Dada,
gray. Yeah, his gray period. His tall white period.
Nice.
So I think as an artist, I am recontextualizing it into God as an artist.
they're still not demons, JD Vance.
Yeah, they're not demons. They're his gray period.
So now you two were raised religious. The animals, were they created to be servants to man? Why did God create animals at all?
They were not, I don't think they were created to be servants to man, but man was then given dominion over.
Okay.
And dominion can be interpreted, extreme people interpret it as like, this is ours to rule and do with what we will. Mm-hmm. Other people see it as like a mandate to protect and preserve.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, do we extrapolate that as man has dominion over the aliens, or do the aliens exist outside the dominion? Do we only have dominion over the things on the Earth?
I think Earth.
Okay,
Mm-hmm,
so
I agree.
Any other planet we don't have dominion over for however you interpret that dominion. Okay.
Yeah, the other worlds aren't really mentioned in the Bible, right? Like, I'm extrapolating by saying like God created the universe, which is something I think Christians would say. So yeah, so I'm extrapolating, but the Bible specifically says, and they like to take it literally, that we only have dominion over the earth.
Okay, so we have no dominion over the other planets, hence why you probably end up with a planet of quote-unquote demons, right? They have to be contextualized into that some way. See, for me, you want a little history lesson here? I'll give you a little history lesson.
Oh, yes. Give us a history lesson. Oh, Matthew.
So the first person to really publicly promote the idea of aliens as demons, or at least otherworldly beings, was John Keel, who's the author of the Mothman prophecies. And during the course of his research, he adopted the belief that the aliens were what he called ultra-terrestrials, simply not beings of the Earth, right? he began linking things like ghosts, hauntings, demonic attacks, angelic miracles, and even psychic phenomena into this whole, sort of supernatural phenomena. And he decided that they were all part of the same tapestry of weirdness. And you couldn't explain all of that with one single explanation unless you called it this ultra-terrestrial thing. So everything was part of Keel's ultra-terrestrials. And then that got echoed by the French researcher Jacques Vallée, who believed that these ultra-terrestrials were actually interdimensional beings. And Vallée posited that what we call the aliens, are actually technologically advanced beyond the barriers of space and time, and sometimes they just sort of pop into our reality. This all ultimately got picked up by Hal Puthoff and Kit Green in the 1970s and folded into Project Stargate, the US government's research program on all the weird and wacky shit. And Stargate research formed the foundation for later research like Robert Bigelow's National Institute for Discovery Science. And I suspect it also was the foundation for Amy Eskeridge's Institute for Discovery Science from the previous article. But all that like weird sort of edge of reality type of shit. Skinwalker Ranch, all of that stuff is all part of this and all comes from John Keel and Jacques Vallée's idea that aliens might be something else.
Do you think that Keel's motivation was to bring Christians into the fold of believing in this stuff? Because it could have gone the other way. It could have become something that only Satanists and demonologists, or not demonologists, but Satanists believe in. Because aliens, it's weird. But that way you can get the Christians involved and digging it. And
you always want to get the Christians involved.
Well, you do though, because if you want to have any money behind it and any serious thought behind it, I mean, Christians are. They're running things, folks. I don't think so. I think John Keel was he was kind of a new agey kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And I think Keel was the unfortunate victim of having such an open mind that his brain sometimes fell out. So it wasn't like
I don't think that
manipulation.
I don't think it was intentional that he was like, oh, let's bring all the Christians in. I think that because Keel, of course, Mothman prophecies, also Hellier. So he's the synchronicity guy. He's like, nothing happens through coincidence. There are no coincidences. Everything leads to something else intentionally. Okay. So I think that he would tell you that no, he was just following the threads where they lead him, and he was just believing everything in case there was some truth there. Okay,
it's one way to do it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's right. Yeah, so that's where this whole concept at least like publicly originates. I'm not sure. There've probably been some people in the background who were doing similar things before, but that's really where it comes and gets the publicity, and you see the books on it.
I also am just curious, because JD Vance is, as we know, fairly recently converted to Catholicism. And there's a person that was peripherally in my life. He was a partner of a friend of mine. I think I've brought him up on this podcast before, but he had been a priest who was in training to be like an exorcist. He left the priesthood, but he still very fully believed that demons were real. Mm-hmm. He did not like walking around after dark because he felt like the demons he believed that the demons were stronger after dark and would be able to infiltrate you. And I bring all this up because Catholicism is a place where I feel like there is still a very strong not all of them, not all Catholics are like demons are real, but there is a community of Catholics who very much do still believe that demons are a real thing that act in the world. And JD Vance is a recent Catholic convert. I think he has given every indication. I haven't read his book. I don't intend to, but like he's given every indication that he's a quite extreme Catholic convert. Maybe I think he's fitting aliens into his worldview, and in his worldview, there are demons that are like capable of acting on the earth, and like, so he's like, oh, what people think are aliens are actually demons, because he believes demons are real, but he doesn't believe aliens are real. Maybe I don't know, you know, like
that's a really good insight. I didn't know he was Catholic and more a very serious Catholic, I guess.
Well, that's the indication. I don't actually know. But yeah, but he's only been Catholic for like 7 years or something. He's like a fairly recent convert to Catholicism.
Okay.
Well, so imagine if you are the vice president and you're in the halls of the White House. You are a recent Catholic convert. You do believe in demons because, you know, you believe in Catholicism. And all of a sudden, you start getting some of these briefings that talk about abductions, talk about, you know, the sightings and all of the things that we've talked about on the podcast. You don't already have the context of the skepticism and the reason and all of the things that we've talked about here. So now you have to believe in these UFOs and aliens because you're being presented with evidence of them. And yeah, I think that is logical to take that information and say, well, I now need to believe in these aliens. I already believe in the demons. Enough of this overlaps that I'll call them the same thing.
But do we think JD Vance is being shown proof of aliens? Like, I don't think any people in Congress or the government are being shown proof of that. Like, I don't think it exists. I don't think we have proof.
They keep talking about it though. Like all of these people say, "Oh, I've seen this thing." What Tim Burchett said that he sees things that would keep us up at night. You know,
Tim Burchett. I think we've talked about this before. If there's fucking evidence of aliens, Tim fucking Burchett, a senator I've never ever heard of as a political junkie, is not the person they're showing it to. Like, you know what I mean? And like, also, there are other higher ranking members of the organization that are getting that information first.
Yeah.
Well, like Obama, right? Obama came into office and he said on that recent interview, he was like, first question I asked was, where are the aliens? And they were like, there's no aliens.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you're being shown could probably, I mean, it could be the stuff that we're all seeing, but slightly different. Like the Tic Tac video at a time could have been a groundbreaking thing, but that's been debunked. Like, you know, we all know what the fucking Tic Tac video is. Like, the things that these people are being shown could be probably easily dismissed, but without the critical thinking and without the logic and without some of the people to help them along, when they look at this stuff, they probably do see it through the filter of whatever fantastical belief system they adhere to.
Totally.
We all actually are victim to that. We are all victim to the filter in which we see the world through. And it's not really a victimhood. It's just that it's our responsibility to peel that filter away and to look as objectively as possible. And it's a big thing to ask somebody who's never been taught to think objectively. I'm somebody who has never been taught to think objectively until I was much older and later in life. And so I completely get how difficult this is, and how much of a fucking uphill battle it is to see things for what they truly are, as somebody who was not only raised extremely religious, believing in God, believing in angels and fucking heaven and all this shit, and then also just never really learning how to critically think until much later.
Yeah. I also think that, like, if you're in the government, you probably are getting a lot of information that makes you question objective reality. Because I think sometimes reality is triangulated, right? Yeah. There's not really, like, a hard truth. It's more like the center of a bunch of different perspectives is the thing that is closest to the truth or something like that, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think they probably are shown things that make them think they're seeing something special. But I agree with you, EJ. That's also very possible they're seeing things that have been debunked, or they're seeing new videos that haven't been released, but that are essentially the same as things that have been debunked, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. JD, sorry, buddy. That's...
I don't know how JD Vance feels about the teleportations that have happened and whether he equates them with religious movement. But we have a follow-up to last month's story. Gregg Phillips, who believes that he was teleported to a Waffle House, he is continuing to insist that he was teleported to the Waffle House. And in fact, on a recent podcast called Onward, Gregg Phillips said, quote, "Teleporting is no fun." So apparently he wasn't enjoying himself either, unfortunately. We got some extra information from him too, though. Apparently, he was heavily medicated when he was undergoing cancer treatment, and that was when he was teleported, or the teleportation event happened. And he believes that he wasn't actually, quote unquote, teleported. He thinks that he was picked up and sort of shuffled around by God as part of a miracle. He said that the more accurate biblical terms are translated or transported, not new ideas for people of faith.
This is what I was talking about earlier, though, with Keel. Like, is this just a and I was wrong, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, is this the recontextualization so that Christians can buy it now? Because, like, aliens, okay, buddy. But you put it under the context and the filter of Christianity. Now people are going to buy it because you can convince certain people that this is real now. Yeah, Keel, I think the answer is no. Gregg Phillips, right. I have no idea.
No, but here's the thing with the that language, what does he say?
He says translated or transported, not teleported. He calls teleported new language. Yeah, but like, I don't know. Like, I grew up pretty religious, normie religious, and then I had like an evangelical youth group, right? Mm-hmm. I've never heard those words to describe like movement of some kind. I've heard maybe like, what was the first one? There's translated. I think perhaps I've heard translated in terms of like, you know, the body of blood of Christ into bread and wine or something like that.
Transubstantiation.
Thank you. So right. No translated. So it's just like, I'm not sure what he's talking about these words of people of faith. And it's quite possible that he is plugged into a more extreme version of Protestantism. Oh my God.
Protestantism, yeah.
or evangelicalism than I ever was exposed to. I've never heard those words to describe what he's describing, which he seems to still be doubling down was like a physical movement, not just like a spiritual, I went there in my mind kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So like what he's still talking about is like nuts.
EJ, do you remember any instances of teleportation in the Bible?
I mean, not really. Just visitations, angel visitations, which we don't really know how the angels got down there. You know, how did Gabriel talk to Mary? One of the angels talked to Mary.
Yeah.
Don't know how he got there. Could have been transported.
There's also like Jesus, when he rises from the grave, you know, he's spotted at the grave, but then I think he like later appears to the disciples or something. So perhaps that, but like he's dead. He's not like he's supposed to have been dead. He's not like a living person who just like was one place and then went to another place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's like different. It's not exactly what Gregg Phillips is talking about.
Isn't that just seeing the spirit of Jesus in one place and then seeing it in another place? Like he's not corporeal at that point anymore, right?
No, he was, because he was showing his wounds to doubting Thomas.
Yeah. Okay. No, he literally is in the Bible. I think it's meant that he literally comes back to life. And then he like ascends into heaven.
Yeah, okay. We just don't know if he took a Segway over to his bros to tell them. We don't know if he took a bike. Like, we don't know.
He called Lyft.
He could have lifted over. Who knows?
So maybe that, but they never use that word. Like,
not that I know of, but it's been a
they
while
say
for
that
me.
he appears to them, you know?
I did a quick Google search for teleportation in the Bible, and AI overview also includes when Jesus was in the boat and he walked on water. Apparently, after he finished walking on water, the boat immediately arrived at its destination. So they didn't paddle over, which feels a little bit like the Allagash abductions. Not going to lie.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So
Maybe
now...
Hash.
Yeah,
It was that
yeah,
right area
Yes,
of the world.
look at that ancient hash.
Well, why else?
Yeah.
That's why everybody thought Jesus was walking on water. He was probably just swimming, but they did, they were smoking some Afghan temple ball, and then, yeah.
And this is what I mean. That's a good time. I'd love to be over there at that time doing that.
Or he was like walking on like a high reef or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sandbar.
Uh-huh. Yes, totally. I mean, this Gregg Phillips thing, it does not stop being funny.
No. I love this. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I mean, like the Ronnie Chang bit from The Daily Show that I posted in our notes, like no new information, but still funny. Also, Gregg Phillips, the most boring speaker that's ever existed.
Oh my God. He's a block of wood.
He's a block of wood. And Ronnie Chang's joke is so funny because he's like, wow, I've never heard a boring teleportation story before. But he's telling this story and you're just like, I think I'm going to fall asleep while you're telling me the most insane shit I've ever heard.
Also, I have to shout out the New York Times correspondent, Richard Fawcett, who did the due diligence, did the journalistic thing, interviewed 24 employees and regulars at Waffle Houses in Rome, Georgia, where Phillips claims that he was teleported. And not a single person remembers Gregg Phillips ever being there, much less Gregg Phillips being teleported in.
Yeah. I want to read this little thing from, do we have more things to say or?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I want to read this thing from the New York Times article. Austin Spears, 29, a land surveyor, also found Mr. Phillips' story to be dubious, but he also acknowledged that all human lives are studded with little mysteries. He says, quote, I can say I've been drunk and ended up in a Waffle House, Mr. Spears said. Don't know how I got there, but I was there. Yep.
I mean, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And, Ronnie Chang says the same thing. He's like, the Waffle House in a ditch, all the places you end up when you're blackout drunk.
Yep.
Life's little mysteries.
And once again, Phillips admitted to being heavily medicated while undergoing cancer treatment when he was teleported.
Yeah,
he could very well have lost time just because he was heavily medicated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
But please, let's keep this story going, though. Gregg Phillips. Gregg Phillips, if you want to come on the podcast, drop us an email, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com. I would love to interview you about your teleportation experiences.
You can do that one on your own, Matt.
Yeah, it's yours. It's all you, Matt.
Watch that one be the one we actually get.
That's all you.
Okay. This next news item made me think of the movie The Abyss, because a remote piloted submarine disappeared after finding something unknown beneath the Antarctic ice, at least according to all the headlines. So USOs, or unidentified submerged objects, which I've seen popping up more and more in UFO lore recently. We heard about them from 2024. Tim Gallaudet, the undersecretary for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, he claimed that they were a major maritime threat. And he claimed that he had seen video of objects flying into and out of the ocean, which sparked the theory that maybe there are these undiscovered military bases under the sea. And so there was this recent disappearance of RAN, the submarine. RAN was a 7-meter or 22-foot remote-controlled submarine that was used for mapping underwater topography, particularly the Arctic ice shelves. And this project was conducted by Anna Wallen of the University of Gothenburg, with the aim to see how ocean conditions were affecting glacier melt. RAN, the submarine, was sonar mapping 54 miles of icy structures underneath this shelf, including forms like staircases, deep pits, flat-topped mesas, all kinds of weird stuff down there. These were all underneath the floating ice in West Antarctica, which is a region that we really hadn't explored before. The ice was hundreds of feet thick in places, which meant that from time to time, the submarine was operating without direct radio contact. And during one of these missions in January of 2024, RAN never resurfaced. So we don't have direct communication to it. We don't know exactly what happened to the sub. It could have gotten trapped in a narrow channel, could have collided with the ice, or there could have been something that collapsed on top of it. We don't know. But there was enough mystery surrounding all of this that reports like the Earth.com article started using phrases like unknown structures and disappeared, and kind of made it seem like this sub found some, I don't know, underwater base and was torpedoed by merfolk that lived down there. None of this is true. The structures were unknown in the sense that we had never found them, we had never saw them before, but they were not in any way out of the ordinary, unless you count the fact that they indicate that there has been increased glacial melt over the last 40 years. Her team believes that the melt from the Dotson ice shelf is directly responsible for a 0.02-inch rise in sea levels between the 1970s and the 1990s. And they also found what they call melt scars that indicate fresh melt since the 1990s. So really, this all just supports the idea that climate change is not only a very real problem, but a very recent problem. But I wanted to talk about this because of all the reporting surrounding it, because it all made it seem like there was some, like, we found Antarctica down there, and the Antarctic residents destroyed the submarine.
Yeah, apparently these structures can happen when melt occurs.
Right. And
they can look like staircases. Like I was looking at the pictures, they look very they look man-made, but they're not. There's very reasonable explanations for them.
We lost a research vessel. Like, I am sure that happens all the time, especially when you're doing shit in like the Antarctic and other places where it's really wild, it's rugged, temperatures are extreme, like all these kinds of things. Like, you're sending a robot under an ice shelf in the Antarctic. So many things could go wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's what happened here. And yeah, agree with EJ. Like, these aren't unknown structures. They're just ice caves that have been like created because of melt. I don't know. I read this article expecting anything out of the ordinary to come out of it. And I was like, so there was a research mission looking at ice and we lost the robot. How is this a conspiracy theory? Like, how have people made a conspiracy out of this?
It's the world we live in now.
It is.
But part of it, yeah, EJ, we kind of talked about how there's this concept that right angles don't exist in nature, or like squares don't exist in nature and stuff like that. And this just proves that it can happen anywhere all the time. But you see it in like shale and stuff. There can be things that look like staircases to us that are not actually staircases. They're just the way currents move, or things break, or something like that.
Not that they're a fair comparison, but like we had astronauts going around the moon, and there was like a loss of signal that was planned and everything, and this stuff happens, but like we had human beings going around the moon, and we had a robot that got lost in the Antarctic. And I know things go wrong in space all the time, but like I just want to like emphasize how incredibly difficult the ocean is, and how like, especially Antarctica, like, oh my God, like so many things could just go very wrong. And yes, things could go wrong in space too, but there's so much of the ocean that we haven't explored, and many variables, and I don't know, it's just not crazy to me that a research vessel could get lost like that, is all I'm saying.
I think it's also worth throwing a little callback here to our the previous series that we had done on Die Glocke, and our Nazi research and all of that stuff, because this team, like I said, they mapped 54 miles underneath the West Antarctic Dotson ice shelf. Didn't find any Nazis. Didn't find any evidence of Nazi vehicles being flown in and out. Because remember, that was one of the things that they said, was that there was a Nazi base in Antarctica. You would think that the RAND submarine would maybe see a fucking Nazi spaceship down there. Yeah, that was Miguel Serrano was the one who came up with that. And that's allegedly Hitler went down there and had been living, I think he might have died. I don't think Hitler was immortal, but he was supposed to have died in Antarctica.
Probably froze his ball off.
Ending on a real solid note.
Yeah.
Well, that's our Fortean Roundup for this month, for April. And, hopefully next month we won't be only talking about politicians. God, guys, just stop. Just stop. I want to get back to, people finding Bigfoot corpses. I don't want to be doing this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Gregg Phillips. Tell me about all of your teleportation adventures. I want to know everything that happens to you.
Yeah, keep going, Gregg Phillips.
So thank you all so much for listening to us. If you feel generous, head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com, click on the support us button at the top of the page, and consider leaving a donation or becoming a supporter. Also, there we have our merch store, and you can check out some of our t-shirts, coffee cups, cool shit like that. And yeah, until next time, everybody be safe out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Slaying Monsters, the Fortean History Podcast. If you like the podcast, there's a couple ways you can show your support. You can tell your friends, you can leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform, or you can head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com and click on the Support Us button to leave a donation. For questions, suggestions, and other feedback, reach out to us, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com, and stay up to date by following us on socials at Slaying Monsters Podcast. Your support helps us grow, and we are truly grateful to have our listeners and community.